Today's episode is brought to you by Media for All, which was set up to help encourage more Black, Asian, and other ethnic talent into media, and to provide a support and mentoring network to ensure talent flourishes in the media industry that we all love. If you're looking for a mentor or would like to mentor young ethnic talent, check them out at mediaforall.org.uk, and it is all 100% free.
Hello and welcome to the Shiny New Object podcast. My name is Tom Ollerton. This is a podcast about the future of marketing. Every week or so, I have the pleasure and the privilege of interviewing one of our industry's leaders from around the world. And this week is absolutely no different. I'm on a call with Anirban Basu, who is Innovation Director at Danone. Anirban, for people who don't know who you are and what you do, could you give them an overview of your career and what you do at the minute?
Yes, absolutely fine. And Tom, thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me to the show. I've heard of a lot of good things about this one. So I'm really kind of intimidated at the same time, as well as thrilled to be here on the same platform. So what I do for a living is I'm an innovation director, part of the global team at Danone, specialized nutrition. So as you may be knowing this, Danone has a few different business verticals in its global structure. I work within the specialized nutrition vertical, managing innovation execution across a very important portfolio. Prior to this, I was doing a general management role. I was managing the P&L and the business in a beautiful country called Myanmar. And prior to which I was a marketing guy heading the marketing operations for my portfolio, the adult nutrition portfolio in Mumbai, in Danone. Prior to which I have again marketing experience in PepsiCo uh, through the ranks. So I started off as an innovation manager, really actually a BTL guy first of all, and then I moved on to innovation management, and then I managed a mango and hydration category, which is very, very important and interesting category in the Indian context. And of course, before which I started my career with GSK Consumer Healthcare, and I was a sales guy over there. So you could say over 14 years, mix of sales, marketing, and now over the last few years, senior leadership and general management.
And in that varied career, what has been your biggest work screw up that you were very annoyed happened at the time, but actually you're glad that it did?
Well, that's a perfect segue into probably a deeper look at how my career has progressed. So one of the stints that I did early on in my career was to take up an innovation marketing role in PepsiCo. And a lot of people actually had advised me against taking up that role simply because it was not a brand role. And I was really looking to break into the marketing domain. And I was a sales guy till then, really looking forward to having a career in marketing. So everybody said, the best way to go into a marketing job is to probably have a brand manager's job and not to get into an innovation manager's job. But I was not finding those roles coming my way, so I was kind of desperate to move into marketing. So I said, okay, I'll have a backdoor entry into marketing. I'll kind of take an innovation role. So I took that role, and 6 months down the line, I realized that I was not in the most important meetings that the company was having. Sometimes, if I would be absent at office, probably people would not even notice, and that's not really a great thing for a young, ambitious, career-minded person like me, right? So I thought that would be the biggest fuck up I've done in my career. In the zeal to get into the marketing department, I've probably chosen a role which does not set me up for success. But what it did was it really made me share the floor with the other marketing brand managers. They would always respect me for the sales experience that I was carrying. So they would always be bouncing off their marketing ideas with me, whether they would be working in the real life environment, in the marketing, in the sales structure, and so on. So I was always getting consulted by the brand teams, but I was not doing brand work, so to say. And as luck would have it, a few months down the line, one of my very dear friends, he actually took a sabbatical. He had to kind of, take a sabbatical, go home for 6 months, and leave behind a very, very important and beautiful brand. And somebody had to take care of that brand for 6 months as a stopgap arrangement, as a makeshift arrangement for 6 months. I took up that role. I said yes to it, and I took up that role. Did that for 6 months, and that 6 months became 2.5 years. It was pretty much the role which set me up for success. I learned a huge deal amount of basics of marketing. I learned a lot of commercial, P&L, brand management, and even stuff like manufacturing and how a brand manager needs to identify all the lines in the P&L statement. And I learned really those hard tricks at that role. So yes, a kind of a career fuck up kind of changed into something which was truly enriching for me and set me up for success later on.
And in order to navigate that change, you must have been very willing to say yes to a lot of things in order to keep your opportunities open. But a lot of the people that I interview on this podcast say is, as you get older, as you progress through your career, you have to stop saying yes to things and you have to start saying no to more things. What have been the things that you've got better at saying no to in the last few years?
Yeah, I think, Tom, yes. I mean, when I was much younger, 6-7 years earlier, I think it was first of all a mindset shift. I used to believe that saying yes makes one look more positive and makes one look more willing to take up challenging assignments. Having said that, now that I manage much larger teams and I have managed projects which are much more complex, I've realized that saying yes mindlessly and cutting a sorry face much later is actually a disastrous situation to be in. So over the years, I've actually started saying no more often than not to things which put my teams under stress. So especially when I know somebody's asking me for a resource in my team to work cross-functionally on something which was not foreseen, which I know is not set up for success, I have become better at saying no to those things, which includes crazy timelines, which includes putting somebody really in a tough situation where they are not willing to do something. So I've become better over a period of time to say no to these things. But yeah, I mean, probably 10 years back, my mindset was the more yeses I say to, I keep taking more and more chances in my career and I increase my chances for success. And that's definitely changed now.
And so I'm curious, in that journey across sales, marketing, innovation, and general management, what has been that bit of marketing advice, that top tip that's really stuck with you that you're always keen to share?
I think more than just a marketing tip, it has been a tip which has helped me in life. And I am myself a very talkative person, as you can probably understand by now in the last 5-10 minutes. And I was coming from a sales background. I was moving into marketing. My first instinct to any situation would be to give a very long explanation, probably very similar to what I'm doing now. And the best tip to me was learn to be brief. And to me, it sounded like almost like cliche. Yeah, everybody says that. And then the challenge was put across to us that you should be able to present your concept in 2 words, that you can put on a T-shirt, and your T-shirt should be able to tell the story that the brand wants to say. And we actually did it. So we had a very, very iconic CEO at that time at PepsiCo, Shiv. We used to call him Shiv. And Shiv used to constantly push us that, okay, what is your concept in 2 words? In every meeting, he would push us. And at the beginning, it sounded almost like crazy that, how can I, crunch my beautiful 15 slides into 2 words? And then over a period of time, we learned that less is more. Less is more. In marketing, we're always troubled with budget cuts. We're always troubled with how to say more with lesser time on air and so on. So it's really a mind shift, how to convey much, much more in much lesser space, in much lesser real estate. So I think it's about brevity.
Do you mind if I ask you to give me an example of one of those 2-word presentations?
So we had this one. I can talk to you about one campaign which won a lot of awards for us. It was a campaign called Swayamvar, and in India, Swayamvar actually means an ancient tradition where the bride picks out a groom from a list of people who have come to marry her. It's in the olden days. The princesses used to choose their grooms. It used to be called a Swayamvar. Okay. We did a word play on that, and we called it Swayamvar. And Aam in Hindi means mango. And I was managing the mango category. So the concept, the campaign was really about you get to choose your mango, which goes into your drink. It does not have to be a generic mango. And as we know, India is a land of mangoes. We love our mangoes. There are more than 1,000 species of mangoes which are cultivated in India. And again, it's a beautiful concept. So we spoke about consumer being autonomous, consumer being empowered, and we made a UGC concept around it. And then really it became a very complex concept. Beautiful, simple at the same time. We managed, like all good marketeers, we managed to complicate matters. So we were constantly being pushed. Can you simplify? Can you simplify? Because in 15 seconds of TV commercial, it's too complex an idea to convey to consumers. And that really came through finally. We the word swayamvar, it really happened in one of those brainstorming meetings late into the night with the agency. We said, why can't we call this swayamvar, where it's a very interesting word play. Everybody knows what the word means, and by having, we can do a little bit of calligraphy around the word, where we call out which is mango, within the word, and it becomes absolutely idiot proof. And in 15 seconds we can talk about swayamvar. That's it. And in the beginning, swayamvar was not part of the initial concepts. We were calling it many different things. We were calling it Mango Premier League. We were calling it many other different names. But this wordplay really made it very simple for us. And it became the campaign, actually.
Right. So the 2-word idea for the ad actually became the ad itself. So that's a lovely story.
This episode of the Shiny New Object podcast is brought to you in partnership with MadFest. Whether it's live in London or streamed online to the global marketing community, you can always expect a distinctive and daring blend of fast-paced content, startup innovation pitches, and unconventional entertainment from MadFest events. You'll find me causing trouble on stage, recording live versions of this podcast, and sharing a beer with the nicest and most influential people in marketing. Check it out at www.madfestlondon.com.
So we're loosely at the halfway stage now. So what we're going to talk about is your shiny new object, which I'm very excited to say is UGC with AI. So there's some acronyms there, and I think I know what it means. Could you describe to the audience what UGC with AI is, and then we can dive a bit deeper?
Absolutely. I wish these things were available to us when we were starting our marketing careers. So UGC, of course, means user generated content, which is where, brands don't make their own content, but brands enable consumers with enough platforms and enough information so that, consumers can start generating content on their own. And typically we see it in the form of social media posts or reviews or pictures and, so on. It could even be branded hashtags that consumers can tweet with, right? And at the same time, we are also seeing the emergence of AI, that is artificial intelligence, where machines are predicting, and they're first of all learning, and they're predicting our behavior. They're looking at large amounts of data of consumers and really breaking them down and bucketizing them into meaningful stories that the data can tell us, right? In terms of consumer preferences or emerging trends. What I'm really looking forward to, and this is really an emerging topic and it's still very, very niche. We know what UGC does, probably it's been there for a decade now, since the emergence of social media. And we are also seeing how, AI is now becoming the center stage for all things marketing, right? I have a feeling now that, we have pretty much democratized let's say creativity, now with platforms like TikTok, etc. I know my friends back home in India, TikTok is now banned in certain countries, but TikTok will, the concept will not go away. Some other platform called something else will probably take TikTok's place, right? So it be TikTok or be it your Vines or be it your YouTube. With the democratization of how easily we can shoot content and how easily we can post content, brands will continue to use UGC in a big, big way. At the same time, I don't think AI has started fully navigating this space. So for example, if I go back to the example I gave on mango, back then when we had done this campaign, probably 7-8 years back, we did a lot of UGC. Everybody was sharing their favorite mango from India. Everybody was sharing their pictures of them picking mangoes or doing something funny with their mango and stuff like that. However, we did not have any sophisticated mechanism to pick these trends apart from manually doing on a hashtag or something. There was no proper science to kind of pick these pictures, or read into these kind of trends and make them into meaningful content. So for example, years later we realized that probably consumers want a different variant of mango, or they want to put their mango drink in a shake format, or probably they want biteable pieces of mango in their mango drink. So these kind of predictions of consumer insighting can actually really happen when we start combining UGC with AI. So that's really something that I'm looking forward to, with many more tech brands or digitally native brands starting to do now.
So I work in a business that leverages AI for marketing purposes. So can you help demystify that a bit? I think that there's a laziness in the industry that replaces the idea that computers doing things that they don't really understand can be short formed into AI. So when you say AI helping you identify UGC, can you just talk specifically how that works, how that would happen, and how someone might do that themselves if they've heard you talking about it?
Yeah, so probably it's best to talk with big tech digital firms who are at the I would say who are at the cutting edge of this kind of technologies, and these technologies are still evolving as we speak. Today we know for sure that our handphones, our mobile phones, are very powerful listening devices. So even if I'm sitting in front of the television, the cell phone, which is probably at sleep mode, can listen to what programs I'm listening to and start predicting my media behavior. Now imagine, and this is of course very high level, and I can start targeting certain set of consumers who are watching a certain TV channel, for example. And again, I don't have money to probably go to TV directly. So can I talk to the same consumers who are watching my competition TVC on TV, but I connect to them online? And how do I do it? I'm using a very simple software, which is a listening device. And these softwares, it sounds scary, but they're already out in the market and brands are using them, right? Now, if I combine,
sorry, I
yeah.
have to push you on that. I'm really curious to know which softwares brands are using to listen to people's TV
I kind
via
of
their
knew you would
mobiles.
pick on that.
That does not sound GDPR compliant whatsoever. So please tell me more.
Okay, so it's a bit of a digression for what we were discussing earlier, but let me talk about this one. So I have worked with a company called Zapper Media. They were an external agency who helped us on this on our brand plans. And Zapper Media really has this software. They have a backend technology understanding and agreement with many of the apps which we anyways have in our phones. So you don't have to download any software and keep it in your phone. So let's say we have an app which is very popular, social marketing or your social media app, which all of us have in our mobile phones. Okay, we can take a guess. Okay, and Zapper Media has a data sharing backend understanding with them. Okay, and Tom, we all know when we download an application and when we say yes to all the disclaimers which come to us in the beginning, we pretty much don't read all through it, right? And right now, as we speak, the world is going through a huge discussion on WhatsApp privacy, right? Somebody actually made the efforts to read through the documents, and now we know what's really in it. But pretty much, I mean, consumers don't read all through it, right? So Zapper Media, what they have is they have a very simple tool. They use your mobile phones to listen to bits of audio when you're sitting in front of the TV. Okay, so let's say I'm brand A and I have a competition brand B, which is much larger than me. Okay, and which is probably having tons of budgets. Brand A cannot have the same kind of marketing budgets to fight brand B on TV. So what do? I put audio markers on brand B's TV commercial, and I start targeting people who are listening to brand B's television commercial, and I start targeting them on YouTube and on Facebook using their mobile devices. It sounds absolutely like sci-fi, like probably an episode out of Black Mirror, but it's already happening, and we have used this technology probably 3-4 years back already.
And so how does that not completely drain the battery of the user's phone? Because if you have a device that survives on like a portable battery, and the device is constantly listening, that's going to smash through the battery's life pretty quickly, or
it doesn't.
Yeah, how does that work?
I'll tell you. So I'm not a tech guy. I'm an economics and marketing guy, but it doesn't. It's pretty much similar to Siri. So for example, what happens with Siri is while the phone is on sleep mode, it's looking for a very specific tonality of being, of us calling out that word. And then suddenly it wakes up, right? That's how Siri or Alexa or all of these, hearing devices, they work, right? This is exactly the same technology.
That is based on a, but that's based on a very small invocation. So, hey, Google, Alexa, Siri, like, as you say, it's a very, very small, like, footprint. However, just listening for TV ads is very, very broad.
Which is why, so Tom, that's what I said. So it cannot listen to everything. It will listen to specific audio markers only in what we are trying to. Exactly. So Tom, what I was saying was that, it will listen to very specific audio markers which are there in the TVC-B. So when I say, okay, I am brand A, right, I want to target listeners of brand B. Here is brand B's TV commercial for you. So the software will kind of pick up audio bits from brand B, and then that will be the Hello Siri for that software. Yeah.
Okay, and so someone else is running an expensive media campaign with a competition with a jingle in it. The software within Zapper picks up that jingle and then associates that TV media impression with an IP address.
Absolutely. So it's exactly how retargeting works. So in retargeting, when you're on search, you search for a Rolex watch. We don't buy it, but for the next 15, 20 days, all the Omegas of the world will keep on retargeting you, right? Because you have had a look at their competition watch. This is exactly the same thing, except that you're not doing a search. You have heard something, and it's an audio cookie, basically, right? So that's how it works. But what we found out was, I'm sure a lot of people will be worried about, I'm being listened to right now and so on. It's all encrypted at the back end. It's apparently a very, very safe software, and it's a very well-funded startup. But yeah, eventually probably they'll get into media rating agency as well, because using this kind of a device, I can really understand what kind of media behavior our consumers are today looking at.
That doesn't sound like that's going to be legal in 10 years' time. Fascinating. So let's bring this back to AI and UGC, because we got distracted there in an interesting place. But tell me more about how that works.
Yeah, so I was saying, something similar, that, when you have sophisticated software which is reading tons and tons of data online, which is being shared by consumers everywhere, why do I have to always take the help of a hashtag? What if I just share a picture, and that picture has got some connection to some brand somewhere in the world, and that brand starts reading data into it? And when you multiply that with millions of consumers, then you can start funneling those kind of strong insights. So that was a point I'm making. Today, if you see, most of the UGC is still very, very push generated. Unless the brand has already spent money in making a hashtag trend, or already it's superbly topical, and it's it has to have something behind it. But I'm really interested in the future, and I'm seeing certain brands actually getting there. If you look at a brand like GoPro, a GoPro, you're always creating content, and you're always wanting to show off that content on social media to your friends and family, right? And is there a mechanism that GoPro now starts monetizing this, not monetizing, probably starts appropriating this kind of content over a period of time, and starts actually figuring out how are people utilizing their products? What kind of films are they being shot? Are they doing some specific maneuvers which probably should become an integral part of the product feature itself in the future, and stuff like that, But today it's very manual.
There seems to be a missing bit of technology here in your stack that I would like to know about. So if you're saying that there's millions of bits of UGC being made about brands in the nutrition category for Danone, whether that's like recipes or smoothies or cakes or whatever it is, how are you specifically using AI to understand what those trends are, given that there are going to be tens of thousands, if not millions, of different types of UGC that's being made?
Now, today, I can tell you, Tom, today we don't have a definitive answer to this because it's really still emerging. We do have certain techniques, tips and tricks, agencies who work in very niche environments in certain countries, but nothing that we could talk about as a global solution that we have in doing this. We know, on Instagram, certain hashtags are of interest to us. We kind of have agencies who are kind of monitoring them 24/7. But as I said, it's still very, very manual. It's machine aided, but it's not fully AI. But that's what I'm really interested in.
And so, what ideally would you like to get out of that technology? So, would it be, that says, right, everyone's talking about cheesecake today, right? Mm-hmm. So yogurt-based cheesecake, for argument's sake. Sorry, making up terrible ideas on air. It's not a good idea. And so you would get some intelligence going, look, there's been a huge spike in yogurt-based cheesecake. Right, agency, go and make me a yogurt-based cheesecake 5-second video to put on TikTok. Is that where your head's going, or do you have a kind of bigger idea than that?
Somewhat similar. So let's say an agency comes up to me and tells me, Anirban, we have an AI software, and this software has been picking up a crazy trend. We are seeing hemp-infused yogurts trending on hashtag, not a hashtag, trending in terms of pictures and people sharing recipes on Instagram over the last 6 months. And from 10,000 shares a month, it has now gone to 1 million shares a month. Clearly, there is something happening in terms of hemp infusion in yogurts. And probably, again, these are not even branded content. These are not even, it's just user-generated content. They just want to show off their recipes and etc. How brands can start appropriating this kind of content, which is not always, overtly branded or pushed by an amplification campaign.
And how far do you think you are away from that? Is this like somewhere you want to get to this year, or is this like a kind of dream that you think the way that marketing will work in 5 years or so?
No, I don't think 5 years. If anything, I think work from home has actually fast-tracked this entire digital piece. And you don't need me to tell this to you. I'm sure you are inundated with questions every day. Every company which was thinking of e-commerce or going digital 10 years from now are now today facing a reality where they have to go live today. Given that context, I think this kind of technologies will be out in the market probably less than 2 years is what my feeling is. But it's really, at the heart of it, what is it? It is really a mechanism of having a very sophisticated way of reading into pictures, content, audio bits from consumers across the world, break barriers of language, etc., and really pull out meaningful insights which are meaningful for categories and companies. So that's in one line, that's what this kind of technology would do.
Unfortunately, Anirban, we need to knock it on the head there, which is really frustrating because I think we could talk about this for hours. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, someone may already have a solution. How would you like them to do that?
Very happy to be in touch over LinkedIn. And once we are in touch over LinkedIn and we have a specific topic to discuss, I'm very happy to always get connected over phone from there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, Anirban, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Tom, for having me on the podcast. I'm really looking forward to more interactions like these with you. And when I was coming into the call, I was thinking of, what I'm going to talk about, and it was really easy. Thoughts really flowed. So thank you so much for making it feel so easy.
Yeah, you're a wonderful guest.
Hi, just before you go, I'd really appreciate it if you could take the time to write a review of the Shiny New Object podcast on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever it's called these days, or whichever podcast provider you use. We're an indie podcast, so it would go a long way for us if you could just share the word and give us a bit of a support on those channels. That would just be fantastic. If you haven't got time, that's also cool. And yeah, if you could tell your colleagues about the podcast, and also, if possible, don't forget to subscribe. And I'd love to hear your feedback. If you'd like to speak on the podcast or be a guest, or
you think I'm asking the wrong questions, anything, I'd be super interested to hear what you think. So please email me at tom@automatedcreative.net. That's TOM at, I'm not going to bother spelling it. Anyway, you'll work it out. Thanks so much.